I'm Will Robinson. I've been with the business now for 13 years, so got the battle scars from the logistics side of things now. My job title is Business Solutions Director, so I take care of solution design, helping our retail partners with any problems or any new changes that they want to make within their supply chain, and overcome any challenges that new parts of their business brings, like their omni-channel or their returns or anything that they're currently struggling with. I'll help them out with that.
And I'm Caroline Ellis. I'm the Commercial Director at Advanced Supply Chain. Also been with the business for about 13 years. And my background's very much in retail. I was previously a buyer and then had my own business. So I'd like to think I can sympathise and understand the journey that retailers and brands go on when they're trying to get their product from A to B. And I think what we do as a business is very much that consultative sell, understanding and listening to our customers. So we really try and help them with their challenges. And I think one of the things today, and the good thing about having I suppose a Q&A session is really to try and, we were joking about this earlier, use this as a bit of a counselling session, a therapy session where people can actually ask us or talk to us about the challenges, and we can give, I suppose, the benefit of our experience and our understanding on the best way to handle supply chain and how to make those decisions as late as possible. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Cool.
So I'll hand over to you. I know you prepared some overarching topics you wanna sort of hit it off with. I guess just for the audience's interest, we're gonna have something quite interactive. So maybe we'll pause with each topic and offer questions or comments.
Right. So the aim really to talk today is around how, as things move through your supply chain, depending on how your supply chain is set up. So if you're a well-established, large operation, you're going to have multiple fulfillment centers. So that gives you an extra complication about where you want that product, be it on inbound, where you want to split that and make sure you've got the right cover over all of those fulfillment centers, or whether it's returns that you're taking from overseas, then you've got to try and make those calls. If you've got a pretty simple supply chain or a single fulfillment center, then you're going to want to think about getting the right product in at the right time. So controlling that supply base, making sure that your suppliers are doing exactly what you need them to do, and making sure that all of those potential hiccups that could happen are not happening, and that your supply chain is predictable, so that you can match the stock to the sales that you want to make.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and I guess that can, as Will was saying, it really happens throughout the whole supply chain. So whether your challenges are with the stock and the inbound, or whether it's then the return leg. So whether you're dealing with a challenge with the actual returns, and that might be in your domestic market, it might be global. And it's how you handle that. How do you get that stock back on sale as quickly as possible? And I guess what we really would like is to be really interactive and understand what your challenges are. Do you find those challenges getting the stock to market initially, or getting it back on sale, and how do you handle that? What are your challenges? And I guess how can we help answering some of those challenges for you?
One of the common themes that we've seen being here over the past day or two has been around the repatriation of overseas returns. Is that a common feel that people are getting? As a show of hands, is that a challenge that you're having at the moment in terms of getting the right product back and making sure that you're not paying duty on products that may be damaged or unsaleable? Is that a challenge that anyone's having at the moment? Is there any show of hands on that? Nobody?
No.
You've all got that sewn up. That's amazing. You got that challenge on that.
Yeah.
So it's a recurring theme that we've seen over the last couple of days, that this is, there's a lot of waste, there's a lot of product that's coming back that is faulty. The customer has told you it's faulty and is still getting repatriated, and you're bringing that back over borders, spending a lot of time and effort on that product. And I guess it'd be kind of good to hear from anyone who's got solutions on that. We've got some solutions that we've been doing with our retail partners. So yeah, if anyone's got any challenges with that, please do speak up. Did you have a question? No. Okay. So one of the things that we've been working on recently around returns for some of our partners is trying to handle the disposition lanes, and trying to make sure, especially when it's really far away. So one of the first areas that we've started touching on this was product that was being fulfilled from the UK out to Australasia. So we were having a heck of a lot of product out there, that a lot of wasted effort. So we already consolidated the parcels. We were already saying, let's send them back to a local consolidation center so that we're not having to pay individual parcel rates for everything coming back, and we can leverage, a stronger lane getting that back. But then we started to think a little bit more about unseasonable products, things that are kind of, you're no longer seeing a strong demand against those products, low margin products, and products that may, be just very, very or faulty or something wrong with that product, that there's no real purpose in reconsolidation. So we've put some tech and we've put some solutions out there around making sure that those decisions are system-based. So on that first inspection, we can make sure that we're saying, okay, let's look at those margins, let's look at those disposition routes. And if it's something that we don't want to bring back to the UK, then we can put that back into the warehouse locally and put it out on aggregators or local channels or things that we can resell that at a lower price just to get rid of that product, make sure that we're getting some value back from that, or even working with partners or charity partners in the region just to say, this product makes no financial sense to repatriate and bring that through. And then one of the other main things is all faulty goods taken out, making sure that they're not being shipped halfway around the world to get that product back in. Other areas as well around the right stock in the right place is we're helping partners making sure that they can make supply chain decisions very, very late in the supply chain. So you can imagine that if you're bringing products in from origin, you may be bringing it into a central point and then kind of maybe doing cross-warehouse shipments or trying to or you're having to make those orders so far ahead of time that the world has changed when the containers have arrived and it's not quite in the right place. We help with the technology and making sure that we can split and deconsolidate those shipments and make sure that we're making very last minute decisions to correctly balance the stock across those two places. And we do the same with returns. We monitor stock levels in fulfillment centers. When the return comes in, we can route that back to the return center, the fulfillment center that we want it to be at.
I guess this is really important if you're looking at omni-channel. So you may be a brand, you've got your own retail, you've got your own online, but equally you've got partners, and you're working with multiple different partners from a B2C, a B2B, or a direct-to-consumer model. How do you handle that? How do you get the right stock in the right place, whether that's one pot of stock or multiple pots of stock? How do you actually make those decisions and handle that quickly? And we work with people on exactly that by being able to make those decisions. Dynamic routing, for example, if you're shipping product and you want to make those decisions at the last minute, how do you actually handle that? It'd be, again, really interesting to hear if people have those challenges and how do you actually deal with that without overstocking. We were having a conversation with somebody maybe yesterday or today, and they had that exact same problem. Having multiple pots of stock is a real challenge. You've got more stock than you need, but how can you handle that quicker? How can you make those decisions at the last minute and have that stock in the right place? And I guess right now it's been a real challenge. I mean, as we all know, we've gone through a really, really challenging time with freight rates. You're not going to have wanted to have actually shipped and bought that much stock that you are seriously overstocked and spending so much money on freight. So we've been working with people again to make sure we can direct that stock to the right place. Equally, we've been having conversations with people again around the repatriation of stock. Is it right to repatriate all that stock? Is it right to leave it in country and actually use alternative methods of actually selling that product in other markets? Again, what are those challenges that people have got? How do you actually handle that stock and get the maximum profit from that product without having to mark it down or repatriate stock and spend so much time and money bringing that stock back to one single pot of stock?
Might be a good time to offer comments or questions to the audience. Anyone want to make a comment around stock management? How do you do it in-house? Do you have any questions? And there you go, sir.
Yep. Yeah. We're just going to wait.
We have to put these on.
Hello? Yeah, it's more of a statement really. I think it's a lot easier if you're like a vertical business and you're controlling your own supply chain. I work for JD Sports, so we're at the behest really of all the brands. So it's great to be able to say we need it to point A, B, C location, but one of our limitations is the brand. Like Adidas, the guy next to me, they'll just point it to one place. Mm-hmm. So how do you deal with this other complexity where actually it's reliant on purchase orders and you're reliant on other suppliers?
Sure.
I'm really sorry, I was listening to a different, so I really didn't hear very much.
To leave it at number one.
I heard that, and it's interesting because we have a solution that we're hoping to work with JD on very, very soon. That we're working. So for exact purpose, we have nominated carrier schemes that can do exactly that. So we can normalize the supply that comes in. We can work with your systems. So when it comes to your WMS and where you want that product to go, we can do the compliance checks. So everything that you do with your QC teams in warehouse, we move it back a step upstream. We do all that back further back, and then we'll split that stock to where it needs to go. So you have tier 2 labeling and SSCC labeling. We can keep that SSCC compliant so that when it arrives, really, really simple, vehicle will unload, go in, but you can make a very, very late decision. So you're not having to, even if the brand doesn't have the compliance ability to do that, we can move that decision down the stream so that you're making that much, much later on. And we do that for brands already, and we're currently working on a project with JD to do exactly that.
There you go. Were you planted in the audience? I think you're going to owe about 10 quid after this. No
we're speaking with Sarah Cunningham, that you know, working with Sarah at the moment on that.
Excellent. Any other brave souls want to make a comment or have a question?
Is everyone here just pretending that your supply chain is absolutely perfect? So nobody got any challenges, anything that you're saying, like, we've got a problem with this, you know?
And it's the afternoon now. You don't really have excuses to be hungover anymore. I've got a question. So in terms of supply chain up and downstream, when it comes to stock and understanding the actual unit itself. I mean, you work across multiple different retailers, but fundamentally it's a data challenge. So when you're talking about that specific technological challenge, what are the unique things that you do from a proprietary perspective compared to potentially your competitors or other third-party software providers?
Yeah. So there's quite a few things. So like you say, understanding your products and what's going on. One of the key things that we're going to monitor is high returns rates on specific products, even though they may be in a category. So you're looking for compliance faults, you're looking for stitching faults, you're looking for something in the manufacturing process that has likely gone wrong, and trying to find, or it could be a sizing problem or a color on your website that may be mismatching. Artwork on the website is another common problem. You may have the wrong pictures uploaded against a particular product. The shades, the colors, the lighting could be incorrect to what the real product looks like. So we mine that data and we look at what customers are saying when they're returning products to try and push that back upstream and say, hey, what can we learn from here? What can we change? What can we reduce this return rate on? We can also put warnings to customers on websites that will say, just so you're aware, this product sees a very high return rate. You'll have seen it on Amazon where it says this product is experiencing a high return rate. Just double check the descriptions, make sure this is right for you, because nobody really wants to keep buying things just to send them back. It's not a successful route. And the other thing that we will do as well is there's AI models that will sit there that will monitor your purchasing and your return rates, and have a look that if you are selecting sizes or you're bracketing sizes on websites, we can start giving you more confidence at the checkout at the product page to say, actually, we think this is the right size for you, which helps people buy with a little bit more confidence so that they're less likely to bracket that stock and set a size larger and a size smaller because they've got that extra confidence factor on the messaging that's there.
A lot of it is around it's that consumer journey, because although we are in the business of handling returns and it's it's one of our core USPs, what we want to be able to do is work with our customers to sort of help prevent some of those as well. So if we can help a customer with their decision making or with that consumer journey, they feel more confident in, as Will says, they feel more confident in that process of purchasing. They'll come back again because actually they trust you as a brand or as a retailer. So it's that information that we can provide. And if we do spot something that is a recurring fault, because we do we're very data rich, very data heavy, we do mine that data. So if we do see an issue and we do see something that could be a manufacturing or a sizing issue, by providing that information to the retailer, they can actually go and have a look at the product that's actually in inventory and prevent another customer having a poor purchasing journey. Yourself, if you get something and you're buying a size 10 and it doesn't fit you, you don't feel that great. So actually, if we can help that journey for a consumer, absolutely perfect.
Fantastic. Again, a lot of discussion around returns and refunds. Clearly, it's been a hot topic.
Yep.
had another vendor doing some international benchmarking around processing times and so forth.
Yep.
UK does over-index in terms of time to process refunds around returns. What do you see as, again, the unique data challenges in assisting your retailers to enable them to actually provide that better experience when it comes to refunds?
I guess our main thing that we try and do is match the customer's expectation on what they're doing. So customers can do some crazy things. We all know it. We all see it. One of the common things that we see is a customer may declare that they're sending back order 1, 2, 3, 4, and they put in an item from order 1, 2, 3, 5, and they put it in the same parcel without telling you. And in most return centers, what happens there is that they get the first item refunded, they get the email for the refund, and they're sat there querying, why have I only had one thing refunded? So there's a customer contact. We're getting a cost to the retailer to do that. So what our system will do is we will handle that return, and we will handle the second item, and we will automatically search the customer's order history to match that up, and it's instantly done so that single email goes to the customer and says, hey, here's your refund for your 2 items. And we do the same on anywhere where we think there may be a little bit of more detailed inspection that we need. So if our initial core inspector suspects there may be fraud, on one particular item in there, the 2 items will go back to stock that are not. The 1 item will be sent over to a more detailed inspection, but we'll hold the refund back a little bit later until we get the answer on the 3rd, so that we're not splitting those notifications to the customer and the customer being confused as to, well, why have I only had 2 items refunded when I was supposed to have 3? And on the back of that, then again, coming back to what we're saying here is that we're monitoring stock levels across FCs, we're monitoring seasonality, we're monitoring all the different parts. Like you may say, this is a high value product, we want this to go back into our FC in the high value cage. We'll make sure that all those segregations are happening, including drop ships. If you've got merchants who are selling on your website that are shipping direct and you happen to get a product back that really shouldn't have been sent back to you, we can make sure that that's extricated and routed back to that drop ship supplier, so you're not dealing with that mess within your fulfillment center and having to unpick what's happened there.
To the point as well on actual timing, it's a really important point because yourself, if you're buying a product and you're buying it from overseas, and for me, if I'm buying something, I always look at the returns policy. I always look at what that looks like. Can I return it back? What's the timing to actually get that money back? And from a consumer's point of view, getting the money back quickly means that actually it's back in your pocket, you're going to spend again, and it's about that journey. So and again, we've been having these conversations over the last couple of days, and where people are potentially a UK retailer or brand shipping overseas, shipping to the other side of the world, but then when a customer wants to return it, that journey of getting that product back can take some time. And it's that journey when, at what point does the customer get their money back? I was speaking to somebody this morning. The refund is made when the product is back in the warehouse. That could take weeks. Is that the right decision? Should it be made at first touch, or is there options to decentralize that process so that the consumer journey is such that the product can be still moving through the supply chain to get back to inventory, or stay in that country, or be inspected and graded there, so you're not actually transporting product back across the globe if it isn't actually worth doing that. And it is all these real intricacies and details around the return journey that we really want to delve into, so that we can actually find that right solution. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing is the consumer, and they want that money back if it's not a product they want to keep. So how do we make that journey better? And that's something really, really important to think everybody as a retailer, a brand, and a consumer. And so that's something that we're really, really interested in delving into to improve our whole returns process and that product journey.
Fantastic, thank you. We'll open up back to the audience again for any comments or questions. Any brave souls? This is a dare now, and I'm not resorting to bribery.
There's one thing that we notice as well, like when we're working with brands and retailers, I think the ones that are on the growth path are always the ones that when they're designing their supply chain or they're making changes in their supply chain, speak as if there's a customer in the room. So they're making decisions and they're saying, how is this going to impact the customer? What does this mean for our end user? And the companies are a little bit more, probably more on the decline or struggling or trying to find cost savings. They're the ones who forget, and they forget that there's a customer element of it. And I think from my experience, I would say that whatever changes you're making, always consider it from the customer's point of view as well. As much as we're all here for efficiency and things like that, it tends to be, I think supply chains are very much driven by consumer demand and what the consumers want to do. And I think it's an important part of that design.
I've just had 2 horrendous return experiences.
Are you?
So,
you going to name names?
No, I'll keep it polite, but you'll probably be able to guess. So my wife clearly does probably the vast majority of consumer expenditure in our house and makes a lot of the decisions around those sort of things. Consumer electronics brand via a third party retailer, within warranty, had a fault. Clearly, we're in another country. About 6 phone calls later, they're like, "You're going to have to bring it back in shop." And after she proceeded to scream at them down the phone, they ended up actually accepting the fact that, it's within warranty, it's broken, this customer's pissed off. So it's already been accepted as a return. I then have to go and queue up in a store, right? And they're saying because it was purchased online, they cannot process my refund in store. And in the meantime, you've already been waiting for 6 weeks, right? This is a week ago. I've heard nothing. There's no money in my bank account. I mean, it's just a diabolical experience. The other one, apparel retailer. Again, won't mention names. Major high street brand. Total split between e-com and the sort of physical returns element in terms of in-store. They didn't have concept of when it had been purchased. They were asking us to retrieve all the order data, the QR codes, etc. And I mean, you're busy. You've got a period of time to get this done, and it's just they put the onus back on you, and it does really, really annoy you. So it's important to get some of these processes right and give stock identity through the whole journey.
Yep.
There are some really good examples of that, and I guess this is a real challenge for those retailers that have in-store and online sales, and also have marketplace, so they have all the brands that they sell that they either maybe do take ownership of or they don't take ownership of, and it's actually just a platform that they use, the other brands use to actually sell on, and that whole journey is really, really difficult. We're working with some retailers now to try and assist with that. So somebody will buy something online that's an online only item, but they want to return it in store because I bought it from that retailer, I want to take it back, and I really don't care whether it's online or an in-store purchase. But for the challenges for the in-store guys to actually be able to do that, and what does that process look like to be able to handle the return through the whole journey? It is a real challenge because it's getting more and more prevalent, and as more retailers work as a platform, even if somebody's sending something back as an e-com, in a parcel, the consumer's just going to put anything in that bag, and it might be a branded product. Let's take Adidas for an example, and Nike. There's retailers that actually sell both those products as a drop ship or a direct to consumer, but it'll be one return parcel, and the consumer will just put everything in the one, and it'll go back into a centralized pot. What do you do with that stock?
What do you do with that situation?
We
do this for quite a few retailers as well. So we've seen retailers try and leverage. So they'll stock that product, but they'll also, when they're out of stock, call it from the supplier directly, and the supplier will drop fulfill that. And that's really interesting because that means that the ownership of that stock now is very much dependent on the order context. So you need to know this particular order, this particular item, who does it belong to? Where do I need to route this product? Where does it need to go? And our technology will do that, and it will route it, and it will correctly route that product back to which supplier it needs to do. But not everyone's got that system maturity for that. So that is a real challenge. But from a consumer point of view, that's fantastic. That means that from a continuity line and a continuity product, it's never out of stock. Even when the retailer goes out of stock, they're able to call off the reserves of the manufacturer or the brand and say, hey, you send this to the consumer, and we've got it.
Good luck. Yeah, exactly. In terms of the financial dynamics of returns, another interesting topic's been, I wouldn't say choking, but certainly slowing the flow down a little bit. Potentially a bit of frivolity over the last 10 years of growth. Let's say financial abundance and sort of gratuities towards customers to make it really easy to go and buy, but it creates massive problems for retailers as we've established. Have you seen retailers, let's say, take certain, maybe not as drastic as my case, but certainly in terms of maybe not offering free returns, offering kind of a slightly more premium premier type of experience. Have you seen that?
Yeah, so
Starting to charge.
Yeah, in the UK especially, this is a big trend that's coming in. So they're focusing still on the ease of return. So they're keeping the simplicity, the paperless QR code, going in and dropping your parcel off. But what they're doing is they're deducting maybe £2 or £3 from your refund amount to cover the cost of it, which is quite an interesting compromise in as much as you're keeping the thing. We're also seeing that the retailers that have stores are encouraging you to go back into store by not having that deduction if you return back into store. So they're trying to get the repeat custom, they're trying to get people to pick up other things and get more footfall driven into their bricks and mortar. That trend is growing, and we're seeing that, and we won't name names, but we're working with even more retailers who are going to turn that on soon as well, and that's going to become the norm. And consumer behaviours in the UK are, I think, are a little bit unique. So in the UK, for example, you have people really detest the idea of paying for delivery. So even though it's for the consumer, it's worse because all the delivery charges are now baked into a single unit price. So if you buy 2 or 3 things from that website, you're paying for 3 times the postage, really, effectively. Consumers just, they hate it. They're turned off by it. If they get to a checkout and there's a delivery charge, the abandonment rates on carts are just really, really high. And I think with returns, the only way that this is gaining traction in the UK because of that inability to want to deal with that is that all of the retailers have kind of moved at the same time. So this is now becoming a critical mass, and so many places that people are buying from are converging on the time to do the paid returns piece.
We had a conversation recently with a retailer who they did a bit of a trial on paid returns, and they really didn't think that the charge that they were going to apply was going to have such an impact, and they really did see an impact on it. So they had to think again. Do you want to try and discourage people from returning, or do you want to really try and maximise those sales? And again, that retailer is one that wants to encourage people to return into store. They've got bricks and mortar still, so they actually want to encourage that because they do want that footfall, and they believe that somebody going back into store and returning something there means that they will purchase something else. They want to keep it within the retailer itself. It's a really big debate right now. I know personally I don't like paying for returns, but I'm one that brackets as well. So but yeah, it is a real debate. You've got some big retailers, Inditex, Zara. They started the charges, and then a lot of other people followed. I don't really know the right or wrong answer. Really, we actually did some research recently, and we've got a bit of a report on it. So if anybody does want to share, we can share the findings on that. It's some really good stats on both consumers and retailers, and what the findings were. Some research we did a couple of years ago, actually, around the demographics and the type of returning. It was interesting that. Given the question, a consumer, would you prefer to have a more green return? So the option to, maybe something that's you go somewhere to actually drop it off rather than having a collection. There was and the same around actual deliveries. They were asked would they prefer the green option if there was a charge associated with it. And first answer, yes, they would prefer to be more green, but actually if there was a charge, absolutely no way. They really don't want to pay. The consumer doesn't want to pay. So it's, I guess there's a bit of education, I suppose, and a bit of a few other options around how we handle it. But it's certainly an interesting debate. I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon.
No, probably not. Probably not. And you made an interesting comment earlier, Carolyn, regarding the the balancing of cash flows within retail when so much money stuck in stock or invested in stock. Poor stock management can clearly have huge P&L impact on a retailer. So what do you do with a retailer, like at a very, very top line, in terms of optimizing their supply chain efficiencies to improve the bottom line? Yeah,
I guess one of the things that Will was talking about before is speed to market is so important. Even back to the point with getting product on sale really quickly. if we can take anything upstream to actually make product fully compliant, and so it can get on sale as quickly as possible, it absolutely will maximize sales. So everything from checking all those details, so whatever the consumer is going to see on the website, if we can check that detail, whether that be, what's the reason for somebody to want to send something back or not, is it actually a dry clean only, and it says 30-degree wash, on the website, things like that. We can check all of that detail. We can check it's compliant. We can check that the product is right, the images are all right. We can put the SSCC labels on. So the minute it gets to a warehouse or a DC, it can go straight on sale. The minute it's scanned, it's on sale quickly. You're just getting that product, out there, because actually, if you are a retailer that's dealing with a brand and that brand's on sale somewhere else, if the consumer can't buy it with you, they'll buy it somewhere else. If they want that particular trainer, they can get it in multiple places. So actually, speed to market is really, really important, and that's one of the things we do with our nominated carrier scheme. Particularly, we're collecting stock, we're doing the compliance checks, we're putting the SSCC labels, and we're delivering it into retailers. And we're literally doing that. The booking can be today. We're picking it up tomorrow, and we're delivering it in the day after. It's as quick as that. And then the return element. Handling those returns, getting that back to us, and we're literally receiving a parcel, we're opening it, we're inspecting it, we're grading it, and it's back in perfect packaging with labelling on within 24 hours, and then that's back into the retailer the following day. It's got to be that quick, because if that product is sat around anywhere just being held up in that supply chain, it's dead money essentially.
Right.
And our software as well, we're able to track all those milestones. So if we have a product that sits in one status for any length of time that's outside our SLA, or it's on query or anything, we can drill down to the individual item, so we can check that. But more so, we actually share that data and the access to our data with our customers, so our customers can be going online and actually seeing, well, actually, guys, you realise you've got that sat in that location. We are very, very transparent with our data. Keeps us honest. And just make sure that everything is completely transparent. But I say that speed of getting product on sale and back on sale is vital.
Yes, three main areas where cash flow is impacted is, like you say, inbound QC failures, so things are not moving. Your returns, making sure your returns are quick, that they're back into stock as quickly as we can make them, and more than that, not filling up your fulfillment center with product that absolutely isn't going to sell, because there are supply chains, it's a tale as old as time, where you're stopping newness coming in because you just don't have the space, you don't have the capacity to do that, and that's an absolute killer. And the other one is customs. It's that product has got some kind of customs delay or something. If you've not pre-cleared that before that container arrives or before the wheels touch down on that plane, you're going to encounter problems, and you just have to make sure that you've got your visibility. And we've got tools that will highlight upcoming problems before they become problems, so that you can focus. It's one thing having visibility and saying, hey, I've got thousands of orders here. Being able to pinpoint the ones that your attention is needed on is absolutely crucial to make sure that cash flow is doing, the money's working for the business.
I mean, there's a lot of European retailers obviously looking to the UK as obviously a major market, albeit in a slightly more difficult post-Brexit reality. So there's obviously challenges with supply chain. It's been a black box, but obviously a lot of things have been cleared up over the last sort of 12 to 18 months.
Right.
What have you seen as the easiest fixes for a retailer to make, for a European retailer to make inbound into the UK, in terms of ticking all those yellow, green, purple, orange forms?
I mean, it's I guess the simple answer, it's always been around tech integration. It's always been make sure you're paperless, make sure you're doing everything you can to make sure that data is fed through to give you the most efficient route in and get things over there. It's still a big market. It's still a very affluent market, so it's still worth doing the effort for. It is a pain for us all that we've now got to do these things, but it's my single point would be just get that paperless flow working, get the customs bit electronic, and get that flowing.
Yeah.
Excellent. Right, we've got 5 minutes left. I know it's been an exciting session. We can see lots of happy, entertained faces in the audience, which we're really pleased about. We've got time for one more question, and this is now an official dare. You'll be the hero of this session. You'll be a hero amongst your peers if you make a comment or make a question of any sort. Any takers? It's been an interesting topic. There you go. Thank you very much.
Hi, thanks for sharing so far. I was curious, could you advise a bit in returns and quality checks? So if products are coming back, how do you make sure a customer didn't do anything with the product and the product is still safe to use? And I'm not talking about fashion, but how do you make sure that happens?
Yeah. Cool. So what we've got is we've got many retail, because especially with the explosion of omni-channel and all the different things that you could possibly sell, we're seeing like a big explosion in the number of different types of checks and quality checks that you're having to do when product comes back. So what we've got on our system is the system will detect the product type, or even if it's really, really niche, it's a really niche product SKU that you need to have very specialist inspection instructions on. They're displayed to the operative at the point that they've selected the item from the parcel. So we'll display it in their own language as well. So if they're not a native English speaker, they'll have it in their own language. If we need an embedded video to show you the inspection points of something, we can embed that in there. But the key is you don't want your returns operatives to have a manual like this and a 10-week training period to be able to handle all those different products. You need them to know exactly what to inspect and feed that loop back. So imagine you've got a brand new product. Merchandisers have just bought a completely strange product. We had the first couple of returns, and let's say we got it wrong. It went back out, and that customer got something that was not good enough. You feed that back through, and you make sure that that feedback loop is working so that those inspection instructions can be updated so that you're seeing it. But more importantly, every return that we do has a unique code that's linked back to the exact desk, the exact operative, the exact person who did that, so we can train it back and see, hey, do you remember doing this really weird throwing star or whatever it was? Do you remember doing that? What can we learn from that, and how can we update the system? But the key is at the point you have that product in your hand, you need to know how to inspect that. I mean, I don't know, you said you're doing other things in fashion, but a really common one for us in fashion is if it's swimwear, check that there's a hygiene strip still attached. If it's sunglasses, make sure the UV label is still on there. But they're all things that you don't want to have returns operators constantly remembering. You want it there on screen to get that quality right first time.
I think one of the key points as well in the way we work is obviously, we've got to sort of get through the returns process fairly quickly as well. So actually what we want to be able to do is have the core operatives really handling the returns, so that the consumers are getting the refunds back. But actually, if they see something that they're not quite sure about, or it is something that is a fault, it immediately goes as a non-grade A, so a grade B or a grade C, and it goes to one side, but then it goes to a more skilled operative to actually do the further checks. So we're not expecting every single person to know all the finer details. They'll have on screen, as Will said, instructions and images and videos if necessary, but actually what we want is somebody who's more skilled to actually carry out further processes. And there's other things, if it's electrical, like in the UK, we've got to do pat testing, we've got to, do repackage. There's loads of things that we need to do to get products back to grade A, and it's a training process that we make sure is there, it's on screen, it is followed to the letter, so an operative knows exactly what that product should look like.
Fantastic, thank you. I did lie before. I don't like doing that, but I had to encourage you to speak. So we do actually have time for one more question or comment.
So if you return a product, right? Two products, the same SKU, different type of damages. You want to book that into your system. How do you then know which product has what kind of damage, and how do you differentiate that in your system while it's one and the same product number?
Yep. So what you'd see in that is you'd see the orders on screen, and you've got one line for the SKU, but you've got quantity 2 on that. You would book in each item separately. So you would say, right, I've got one of these. I press the grade B button, and I have a screen that tells me, what faults do you want to select from? So you'll select the faults. The system at this point prints off a unique tag ID that goes onto that single unit, that's unique to that single unit, that stores the faults from that. That will then be process controlled as it goes through the warehouse. And we do 2 major things in that. The first thing that we're going to do is we have an economic cost for every rectification task that we need to do. So if it needs an electrical test, if it needs sewing, steaming, any of those things, we have a cost behind each one of those operations. We also have the feed from the retailer to say, this is the current selling price of this product, and we then calculate whether it's economically viable to recover that product. And if it's not, we tell the operator, don't bother trying. This is just going to go straight out to jobber. The other thing we will then do is that we will control the flow through the facility. So if it needs to go to a specialist to do the pat test, that will go to that desk. It will be tracked within the tote, goes to the desk, and then moved through all the different steps in the order that it needs to be done. And we track the productivities of each person as it goes through there. But back to the original question, every single unit, like when you've got different faults against it, will have an ID on there, a tag ID that says, that's this. If you're working in a bulk scenario, so imagine you've got 10 and you have 5 with one fault and 5 with another fault, you would put the same tag ID on the 5 and say, right, they've got that fault, and you put the same tag ID on the other 5, and you control it that way. So it's a bit of a mixed bag on that one. Okay, does that cover your answer? Yeah. Cool.
One final question. No? In that case, we could call it a day. My biggest takeaway from that session is using supply chain as an effective cash flow tool in times when a lot of retailers are being squeezed. Emphasize getting things out and back as fast as possible.
Yep.
Fantastic. Any closing comments from our wonderful panel?
Thank you, and we're still here for an hour or so. If anybody's got any questions, you'll...
There might be some KFC left on the stand as well, if anyone's a little bit veganed out on the...
I'm so coming with you. Okay, fantastic. Warm round of applause for our panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Caroline. Appreciate your time.